Have you ever felt like a woman slowly stopped respecting you and you couldn't explain when it started? Not a big fight, not a dramatic breakup, just a quiet shift. She used to listen. Now she interrupts. She used to be excited. Now she's busy. She used to meet you halfway. Now you're the one adjusting, apologizing, explaining yourself. And the most frustrating part? You replay everything in your head thinking, what did I do wrong? Where did I mess this up? Why did this change? Let me tell you something uncomfortable, but freeing. Women don't accidentally walk all over men. They only do it when boundaries were never set early, not later, not after things go bad. Early. Miss even one boundary in the beginning and the dynamic flips permanently. And no, this video is not about controlling women. It's not about being cold, distant, or playing games. It's about something far more important. Structure, your position, your identity as a man inside the dynamic. Because attraction doesn't grow in chaos. It grows inside structure, and boundaries are the frame that holds that structure together. Think of it like this. A house without walls doesn't feel open. It feels unstable. And when a woman senses instability, she doesn't relax into desire. She starts testing the ground beneath her feet. Today, I'm going to show you 5 boundaries men must set early, or the relationship slowly turns into something you never agreed to. And as you listen, I want you to be honest with yourself. Not defensive, not hopeful, just honest. Because chances are at least one of these already cost you a woman's respect and you didn't even realize it at the time. Let's start with the one that ruins more attraction quietly than almost anything else. Boundary number 1. Never open financial access early. There's a silent role many men step into without realizing it. I call it the provider audition. It usually starts innocently. You mention your salary, your business, your investments, how hard you work, how stable you are. Maybe she didn't even ask directly. Maybe you just wanted to reassure her. But here's the psychological shift most men never notice. To women, money is not intimacy. It's data. And the moment financial details enter too early, the frame quietly changes. Attraction turns into evaluation. Curiosity turns into calculation. She stops wondering, how do I feel around him? And starts asking, what role does he serve in my life? That's the moment you unknowingly step out of desire and into usefulness. I once coached a guy, smart, driven, good-looking, who couldn't understand why every relationship ended the same way. Women liked him at first. They leaned on him. They appreciated him. But attraction faded. When we broke down his patterns, the answer was obvious. By date 3, he was already saying things like, I've got you. Don't worry, I can handle that. I'll take care of it. No commitment. No exclusivity, no earned investment from her, just access. He thought he was being masculine, responsible, reassuring. But what he was actually doing was auditioning for a role she never asked him to play. Here's the twist most men don't want to hear. Appreciation is not attraction. Gratitude is not desire. A woman can be thankful for you and still not want you. Once financial access opens early, she starts observing instead of responding. She tests reactions when money comes up. She watches how quickly you step in to solve problems. She feels the shift from equal dynamic to support system. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to reverse. So ask yourself honestly, did you ever talk about money before she invested emotionally? Did you ever try to secure her interest by proving how useful you could be? If yes, that wasn't generosity. That was leaked leverage. And once leverage leaks, respect slowly drains with it. Now let's talk about the second boundary, the one men break while telling themselves they're being calm and mature. Boundary number 2, never tolerate subtle disrespect. Disrespect almost never shows up loud. It doesn't kick down the door. It knocks softly and waits to see if you'll answer. I call these silent disrespect tests. They're not always malicious. Most of the time, they're subconscious. A woman isn't trying to hurt you. She's trying to answer one question. Can I get away with this? It might look like a joke at your expense in front of her friend, a casual comparison to her ex, an interruption when you're speaking. Maybe she disappears for hours, then expects immediate attention when she returns. Nothing explosive, nothing you can clearly point to. And that's why men let it slide. You laugh it off. You tell yourself it's not worth addressing. You stay silent to appear unbothered. But here's the truth most men never learn. Silence is not composure. Silence is consent. Every unchallenged moment becomes data. She's not thinking, he's so calm and confident. She's thinking, so this is allowed. And once something is allowed once, it becomes part of the relationship's baseline. I've seen men lose all authority in a relationship without a single argument, just a series of ignored moments, each one small, each one seemingly harmless, until one day they wake up and realize they're being spoken to in a way they would never accept from anyone else. And here's the painful part. When disrespect becomes normal, attraction doesn't just fade. It flips into something else: contempt, boredom, emotional distance. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. Was there a moment early on where something didn't sit right and you said nothing? That wasn't peacekeeping. That was boundary erosion. And once erosion starts, it never stops on its own. Pause here. Before we move into the next boundary, the one about time, structure, and availability, I want you to do something. Think back. Which of these hit closer than you expected? Boundary number 1, financial access. Boundary number 2, subtle disrespect. Drop a comment when you're ready. Not to impress anyone, but to be honest with yourself, because the men who actually change are the ones willing to see the pattern before it repeats again. When you're ready, we'll continue. Let's keep going, because if the first 2 boundaries quietly erode respect, the next 2 completely collapse structure. And once structure is gone, attraction has nothing left to attach to. This is where most men lose the frame without even realizing it. Boundary number 3, never make your time freely available. There's a mistake men confuse with effort. It sounds responsible. It feels supportive. It looks like interest, but psychologically it does the opposite. I call it loss of structure. Here's what most men don't understand. A woman isn't just evaluating you. She's evaluating the life that surrounds you, your time, your rhythm, your direction. When your time is always available, it doesn't communicate interest. It communicates emptiness. You cancel plans last minute to see her. You stay flexible. You tell her, I'm free whenever. You think you're showing priority, but what she feels is this subtle question forming in her mind. What does his life actually revolve around? And when the answer starts to sound like me, attraction quietly suffocates. Because availability is not desire. Structure is. I once worked with a man who couldn't understand why women lost interest after the first few weeks. He was consistent, responsive, always present. But his calendar told a different story. No immovable commitments. No protected time, no non-negotiables. Every plan was adjustable, every night was open, so the dynamic flipped. Instead of her adapting to his life adapted to her moods. He wasn't leading a direction, he was reacting to momentum. And here's the brutal truth. A man without structure doesn't feel safe to follow. Not because he's weak, but because there's nowhere to go. Let this sink in. Being busy isn't attractive. Purpose is. You don't need to pretend to be unavailable. You need a life that doesn't collapse the moment a woman enters it. When your time has weight, your presence gains gravity. When your time is free, your presence becomes optional. And once you become optional, respect starts negotiating. Which brings us to the next boundary, the one that quietly kills masculine polarity faster than anything else. Boundary number 4. Never become her emotional dumping ground. Early. This is where good men lose themselves, and they don't even realize it's happening. I call this pattern emotional recruitment. It usually starts like this. She opens up, shares stress, talks about past trauma, calls late at night. You listen. You reassure. You stabilize. You think, this is intimacy. But emotional dumping is not intimacy, it's emotional labor. And when that labor flows one direction too early, the polarity collapses. Here's what's actually happening psychologically. She's not bonding, she's offloading. She's testing how much emotional weight you're willing to carry. And the more you absorb without boundaries, the more you stop feeling like a man she invests in and start feeling like a container she uses. Masculine energy doesn't die from lack of emotion. It dies from over-accommodation. I've seen this play out countless times. The man becomes the safe one, the listener, the fixer. Meanwhile, excitement goes somewhere else. Because here's the line most men need to hear clearly. A woman bonds with the man she invests in, not the one who carries her. Investment creates attachment. Carrying creates dependency, and dependency doesn't spark desire. Think back honestly. Were you the one staying up late while she unloaded stress? Were you constantly reassuring her fears before she had earned emotional access? Did you mistake emotional availability for emotional leadership? Because leadership doesn't mean absorbing everything. It means pacing connection. It means letting her invest emotionally, not recruiting you as her therapist. And once that boundary is broken, the dynamic shifts permanently. You don't become closer, you become heavier. And weight kills attraction faster than distance ever could. Now pause here. Because the final boundary, the 5th one, is where everything either collapses completely or resets power in your favor. It's the moment most men panic. And panic is what seals the loss of attraction. Before we go there, ask yourself, which one hurt to hear more? Losing structure through time? Or losing polarity through emotional overgiving? Drop a comment if you're following this, not for engagement, but because awareness is the first line of defense. When you're ready, we'll move into boundary number 5 and the final reframe that ties everything together. This is where everything comes together. Because if the first 4 boundaries slowly weaken your position, this last one is the moment most men destroyed completely, often in a single week. And they do it out of fear. Boundary number 5, never panic when she pulls back. Every man experiences this moment. Texts slow down, energy shifts, plans become uncertain, and immediately the mind starts racing. What happened? Did I do something wrong? Am I losing her? This is where the effort imbalance spiral begins. She pulls back slightly, and you push forward harder. You fill the silence. You reassure without being asked. You increase effort to restore closeness. But psychologically, this does the opposite. Attraction doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to space. When you chase, you communicate that she holds the frame. When you panic, you surrender position. And the more you try to fix the feeling, the faster it disappears. I've watched men turn a small pullback into total emotional collapse in a matter of days. Not because she lost interest, but because they taught her that distance controls them. Here's the twist most men never expect. Attraction doesn't return through effort. It returns through space. Space allows curiosity. Space restores polarity. Space reminds her you have a center that doesn't depend on her mood. Pulling back is not a test you pass by chasing, it's a moment you pass by staying grounded. And if she returns, it's because attraction reactivated on its own, not because you forced it. Now here's the reframe that changes everything. This video was never about tactics, it was never about women. It's a system. Boundaries create structure. Structure creates leadership. And leadership decides the dynamic before words ever do. Who leads? Who adapts? Who respects whom? When a woman feels structure, she relaxes. When she feels chaos, she tests. Boundaries aren't walls. They're load-bearing beams. Remove them and the entire house collapses. Quick recap. The 5 boundaries. Financial access controls leverage. Disrespect protects dignity. Time creates direction. Emotional pacing preserves polarity. Withdrawal tests self-respect. Miss one early, and you spend the rest of the relationship trying to regain ground you never protected. The core insight. You don't gain power by demanding more from women. You gain power by requiring more from yourself. By observing behavior, not words. By protecting structure before emotion. By letting boundaries filter instead of trying to hold on to everyone. The right woman doesn't resist boundaries. She feels safer inside them. Which boundary hit you the hardest? Was it money? Time? Emotional overgiving, or panic when she pulled back? Drop it in the comments. If you've ever overgiven, hit like. If you know a man who's losing himself in a relationship, share this with him. And if you want to understand psychology instead of guessing your way through relationships, subscribe, because clarity beats hope and structure beats chaos every time.